In the afternoon, I wake up to an unaccustomed brightness. Blinking my eyes open, I glance outside and notice an absence of clouds. Looks like the storm has finally passed. Zach's bed is empty, and even the pongo is missing. I guess I'm the last one up, considering it's already midday. I hurry out of my bed and rush to get ready, then head downstairs. The team is already there, gathered around a table. They greet me as I arrive. Looks like the storm has passed.
Correct, which means we are able to resume our journey to Elendale.
Not exactly. We've still got some unfinished business. We have to meet up with those men to learn the secret to unimaginable power.
Oh, right, those two men from yesterday. Zach gets to his feet.
Ready to go?
I suppose so. Leanna stands as well, but Kara and Amy stay put. Are you two coming?
The invitations were not extended to us.
Yeah, plus I think it's a mage or crystal specific thing, so that leaves me out. We'll stick around here and see what else we can dig up and meet you guys when you're done.
Amy nods. That's probably for the best. Leanna, Zach, and I exit the inn. Studying the address on the cards given to us, we eventually come across a nondescript mansion. Cautiously, we knock on the front door. There's no response. Since they were looking for mages only, Leanna does a radial scan. From the blank door, a hidden message appears. It indicates to go around to the back entrance, but only when the sun has fully set. We decide to spend our time scouting out the location for all the different exits and get as much of the floor plan as we can get figured out, just in case. By the time we have done our extensive mapping, it is evening. We circle around the house to the plain wooden door. We knock twice and the door swings open. Grinning widely is one of the men who recruited us yesterday. He ushers us in through the door and into the foyer, where a handful of people mill about. I take in the marble staircase and pristine tiles. Some people sit on the leather couches as we wait for whatever is supposed to happen to begin. Bright light spills into the room and reflects off the crystal chandelier hanging from the ceiling. This room looks more expensive than my entire house back home. I'd never have guessed it from the plain exterior of the house. After a few more minutes, a man with slicked black hair approaches with open arms and a shining grin.
Welcome!
The room quiets down into silence as he greets us.
I'm sure you're all wondering why you've been invited here today. It's because our expert talent scouts spotted a commonality within all of you, an unmistakable ability, a mastery of the elements.
A few people sneak glances around the room. I look at Leanna, who is watching the speaker intently. Zach crosses his arms, his expression unreadable.
We too share this gift, and we too hungered for power. We spent hours upon hours honing our craft, showing painstakingly slow progress before we were introduced to the secret techniques we hope to share with you today. My friends, if you wish to become the most powerful casters in this area, then you have come to the right place. But as they say, with great power comes great responsibility. These techniques are dangerous and are not for the faint of heart. Failure can lead to dire consequences, and in order for us to continue, I need absolute assurance that you are all ready to face those consequences. If anyone is having second thoughts, now is the moment when you can walk out of here with no hard feelings.
A couple of people turn around and head back towards the door, but the majority of the group, which is still a small number of around 10 people, decide to stay.
I admire all of your courage, but I'm not surprised by your decision.
A doorway to the left of the room creaks open and the man points in that direction.
The beginning of your training is in the next room. Please proceed through the doors and our training leader will meet you there.
Low murmurings fill the silence as people begin to exit the room. As Leanna begins to pass, the strange man from before sidles up to her and lowers his voice.
So, the guild finally caught wind of this, eh?
Leanna masks her surprise and keeps her voice even.
I'm not sure what you mean.
He chuckles and nudges her.
It's alright. You can trust me. I'm actually Broodman.
He pauses, avoiding for our recognition, but we merely stare blankly at him.
Broodman? The Silent Protector? tamer of the wolves at Wolfsden.
Again, we make no notion of recognition.
Well, either way, we're on the same side. I know that these guys are dangerous, and I've got a plan in place to stop them.
How do you know they're dangerous? Do you know what their secret technique is?
Broodman waggles his eyebrows knowingly.
Right, playing innocent to keep up your facade. I understand.
He winks.
Look, I was planning on taking these guys down alone, but having a member of the Mage Guild as backup would ensure the downfall of these guys. What do you say? Are you in?
Leanna frowns.
I don't know what you're talking about.
He winks.
All right. You won't budge.
He taps his nose and then fixes his attention on Zack.
I'll just pretend I didn't see the mage emblem when you first entered Wolfsden. What about you?
His voice trails off as Zack stares him down with his unblinking gaze. Broodman seems unfazed. Broodman's gaze lands on me and he quickly shifts focus.
How about you?
I'm gonna follow Zack here. I muster up my most intimidating glare and stare Broodman down. He meets my gaze. We hear shuffling and I notice most of the people have filed out of the room by now.
We should get going before they get suspicious.
Broodman nods and we follow the others out of the room and into an evening courtyard. The courtyard is surrounded on all sides by walls, which upon further inspection are hallways connecting the different wings of the mansion. Because we're enclosed within the mansion, we're guaranteed privacy.
Listen up! I know what they promised you back there, and I know they made it sound like all of you, as long as you try, will be able to learn the technique for power. But they're wrong! Only those of you strong enough to handle that amount of magic will be successful, and that's where I come in. I'm here to test your proficiency with magic, and if this technique is something you can even handle.
A few staff members who are standing on the sidelines come over and begin passing out manipulators. When they reach Zack, the staff notices his lack of manipulator and looks at him in confusion. Zack doesn't react or bother to take the manipulator from his hands either.
He passes.
The train leader walks by and as his gaze falls on Zack's dischargers, his expression changes. He turns to the staff with the manipulator and urges him to move on. The staff member begins to protest, but the train leader stops him.
He passes. I know you all have your own manipulators, but I don't care. Use ours anyway. The goal of this isn't to show off who has the fanciest gadgets. It's to eliminate any variables so we can get a more accurate read on your abilities. Now, who wants to go first?
One person steps up and attempts to cast a gale, but his nerves makes his arm unsteady and he keeps losing focus.
Enough.
The train leader shakes his head and the man hangs his head. The staff members lead the man out of the courtyard as the next person steps up. One by one they go until it's my turn. My blood runs cold as clammy sweat covers my body.
Let's go. We haven't got all day.
I close my eyes and breathe deeply. I can do this. Just remember my training. Once my hand's steady, I raise my arm and channel a gust of wind as I've done so many times before. I picture Leanna watching and encouraging me, and sure enough a gust of wind flows through my fingers. The train leader frowns, unimpressed, but the staff member who took my energy reading races over to his side. I'm pretty sure I can guess what's going on. They took a scan that said my energy levels are off the charts, and yet somehow my casting skill does not equal the energy I possess.
Pass. For now.
I nod. The train leader calls Leanna forward, and I take this time to switch out my manipulator back to my own. She takes a deep breath, gathers her energy, and raises her arm. Her blue eyes almost turn steel gray as a gale storm whips the trees in the courtyard. Leanna's hair flies around her, but she stands steady in the tempest, her gaze challenging the training leader. He raises his hand as instantly as she summoned it, Leanna ceases the storm.
Pass.
As a few people pick themselves off the ground or dust themselves off, Leanna returns to the group. Keep it cool. Nice job.
Thanks. You too.
I nod. They continue to move through the tests. Zack silently slinks over and joins us as Leanna surreptitiously switches back to her manipulator and does a scan of her own. She frowns at the results and lowers her voice so I can barely hear her.
I'm getting the same strange absence of energy reading that we got back at Stonecrest.
Do you think this has something to do with the void? She nods, her expression grave. A guard approaches Leanna and she quickly puts on a smile.
Ma'am, I have a message from the site commander. He wishes to meet you.
Oh?
In his private quarters.
Oh?
For once, she can't hide her surprise. The guard leaves momentarily as he goes to speak with the training leader. Leanna turns to us.
We need to figure a way out of this. There's no way I'm going into the commander's private quarters.
You have to.
What?
Quiet!
Leanna lowers her voice, but her tone is just as stern.
Do you have any idea what an invitation to his private quarters means?
Of course I do. And that's why you need to go. This is your chance to get inside and find out if this is a part of Void's operation like you suspect.
She frowns.
There must be another way.
Probably. But not on such short notice without an all-access pass to the most secure place in the entire mansion.
Leanna remains quiet as Zach's words sink in. Then she groans.
You're right. This is the perfect opportunity.
What about us?
We'll find a way inside and catch up with Liana. When you get to his quarters, make sure you leave the door unlocked so we can get in.
I will. But you two better hurry up. I do not want to be alone with him longer than I need to.
The train leader looks annoyed and waves the guard away. We fall silent as he returns to collect Leanna. She throws us one last warning look before leaving. So how are we going to sneak in?
We need a distraction.
As Zach and I scan our surroundings, a hand falls on my shoulder.
Don't worry, I've got this.
Got what?
He just winks at us as he enters the center of the courtyard. The train leader looks amused as Broodman enters the testing space unprompted, but doesn't stop him. Broodman stands perfectly still and takes an exaggerated breath, then slowly breathes it all out. He raises his arm in front of him and summons a glowing fireball in his hand. As he aims it straight in front of him, it was only then that I noticed he strategically placed himself so he is facing a large tree. That's smart. He'll ignite the tree accidentally as part of his proficiency testing. Broodman takes another deep breath, and just as he's about to let the fireball fly, he sneezes hard. The fireball misdirects and catches on his clothes. He yelps as the flame laps at his clothes and drops to the ground and rolls. Instead of extinguishing the flames, the grass ignites where he rolls. Soon the courtyard is amuck with shrieking voices and running bodies. What am I even witnessing? Zach pulls me aside.
Now's our chance.
I nod, and the two of us slip through the same door we saw Leanna go through. We enter a brightly lit corridor and try our best to blend in and stick to the few shadows in the room. We manage to escape the corridor without incident and reach another open hallway. A guard stands in the center of the room making his rounds. Zach signals for me to stay back as he sneaks up on the guard. Let's go with... We'll do this next time. Stay back. I stay back and give Zach space. He has far more experience in this sort of thing than I do, so I'm happy to follow his lead. As he gets close, he jumps the guard and covers his mouth as he disarms him. I rush over and help him secure the guard into a more hidden alcove. He struggles as we place him in a chair. I hold him down as Zach approaches him.
Where are the commander's quarters?
I'll never tell.
Zach grins as he cracks his knuckles.
Ah, good.
Good?
I was hoping you'd resist. It makes interrogation so much more fun.
The guard resumes his struggles, but I continue to hold him down. Zach slowly approaches, and I see the fear creep into the guard's eyes.
Hold on a second.
Zach doesn't stop. He balls his hand into a fist. The guard looks at me with panic in his eyes.
I'll talk. Just get that crazy guy away from me.
Zach frowns, but stops walking towards him.
The commander's quarters are right down this hall, and then a left at the next fork. His is the last room down that corridor.
That's all we needed. Thanks.
With one knockout punch, the guard falls unconscious and the two of us hurry off. As we turn down the hall, I face Zach. I'm surprised that was so easy. Zach sighs.
I know. How disappointing.
I look blankly at Zach. Okay then. We sneak through the corridors and remain unspotted as we follow the guard's instructions. We recognize the commander's quarters immediately and see the two heavy mahogany doors at the end of the hall are slightly ajar. Why are there no guards in front of the quarters? Isn't that suspicious?
Not if the commander's got a woman in his room.
Fair point. We slip into the room and are immediately greeted by a frenzy of whispers from Leanna.
Oh, finally! You guys sure took your sweet time.
Calm down. We got here as quickly as we could.
Where's the commander? Lena points to a locked door. That must be the bathroom.
He went to freshen up.
She shudders. Zack crosses his arms.
Okay, then what are you doing just standing around here for? Get into position!
What position?
Zack points to the bed and Leanna pales.
You can't be serious.
Do you want to jeopardize this operation or what?
How would posing on the bed help with this operation?
Because while he's very distractedly approaching the bed, we'll be able to knock him out from behind. Quick and quiet and not alerting any guards.
Leanna sighs and lacklusterly climbs onto the bed. She lays down on her side and props her head up with her arm.
Like this?
Yeah, whatever. Does it even matter how she poses? The commander's already made up his mind we'll be doing what he set out to do anyway.
Please don't phrase it like that.
She shudders again and scrambles off the bed. Zack frowns.
No, that's not right at all. You have to be more inviting.
Zack lounges on his stomach and bends his legs up at the knee as he rests his head in one of his hands.
This is the most effective pose.
Are you kidding me? You look like you're sunbathing at the beach. That's not alluring at all.
You don't know what you're talking about, woman.
I think I'd know a thing or two more about flirting than you would.
Remember who got the information here?
Oh, please enlighten me, sailor.
Leanna's face flushes at the memory. She is about to argue when the door to the bathroom flings open. A looming man stands in front of the door in nothing more than a too-revealing Speedo.
Apologies for the delay, my sweet. I wanted to make sure that I was in.
He freezes when he sees Zack on the bed, and for a moment, nobody moves.
All right, before we begin fighting, I have a really important question.
Zack mimics Leanna's original pose.
Is this attractive?
The commander's face turns red with rage.
No!
Thank you, that's exactly what I said.
Well, it would have been attractive if I were doing it.
I'd agree to that if anyone cares about my opinion. The commander roars out in anger. Zack rolls off the bed and withdraws his discharges in one smooth motion as Leanna's manipulator glows. I pull out my sword, ready a fighting stance. The commander glares at us.
Do you really think that a bunch of amateurs can take out someone as powerful as I? You fools will regret ever crossing paths with a Shadow General.
He raises his arms and readies a stance. Then his face falls as he realizes he's naked.
Oh, shit.
Zack shoots a blast which knocks the commander down. He smashes his head against the dresser and falls to the ground with a heavy thud. Leanna rushes to check him, her sword at the ready, but he is knocked out cold. I sheath my blade. That was easy.
They aren't so tough without their magic.
Leanna has her manipulator out and performs a scan.
He said he was a Shadow General. That just confirms that this has something to do with Void.
She suddenly focuses on an area in the floor. Prying up the floorboard, we find a large bag filled with dark spheres.
Tainted spheres.
Definitely void.
We can't leave the spheres here. We have to take them.
We'll be too conspicuous lugging this bag around.
But it would be even more dangerous to leave them here for them to use.
Also, what should we do with the Shadow General? Just leave him here? Zack shrugs. Suddenly, the window crashes open. We ready ourselves for another battle, but we recognize the figure as Broodman. He dusts himself off and heads straight for the commander.
Finally, we meet again.
Broodman doesn't seem to notice we're there as he continues addressing the commander.
For all these years, I have slowly unraveled everything you've worked so hard to build. I have been that splinter that you just can't pull out. And now I am here to finish what I have started. For I am Broodman. You killed my brother. Prepare to die.
He frowns as the commander doesn't react.
And even now, you won't give me the decency of even acknowledging my presence.
He moves in to kick the commander when we stop him.
Hey, wait! He's unconscious!
Broodman pauses.
Ah, yes, of course. He was so intimidated by my speech that he passed out in fear.
That's not what... Broodman strides to the commander and seemingly without effort hauls him over his shoulder.
Don't worry, I'll take it from here.
He launches the commander out of the newly opened window. What the hell?
We're on the second floor!
Oh,
We rush to the window. A fall from the second level may not be fatal, but it could still break a few bones. Luckily, the commander landed on a bush and looks unscathed. Broodman crosses his arms triumphantly.
All according to plan, my friends.
He climbs back through the window and lands on his feet beside the commander, then takes him away into the night. We pause as we let all that sink in.
We should get out of here before we attract too much attention.
Leanna nods. She carries the bag of tainted spheres as naturally as she can and pushes open the doors. There are 2 guards now stationed in front of the commander's quarters, and they give us questioning looks as the 3 of us slip out, careful to close the door behind us.
Where is the commander?
Please don't disturb him. He's all tuckered out from our certain activities.
She winks. The guard clears his throat uncomfortably.
Right, I understand.
The second guard looks suspiciously at Zack and me.
Hold on. What about you two?
Don't worry, we took part in those activities too. I wink and try to hold back my laughter at their horrified expressions.
Would you like us to elaborate?
Nope, not necessary. You may go.
Zack grins as the 3 of us waltz out of the corridor. Because the commander had made it clear what his intentions were with Leanna, we had no trouble with any of the guards milling about and were able to exit the mansion unquestioned. Once we were safely outside, we raced back to the inn. Bursting through the doors, we very urgently scoop up Amy and Kara. So keep in mind with their wind magic, there should have been nothing stopping them from just jumping out the window too.
Greetings upon your safe return. I assume your endeavors were successful.
Yep, everything's great, but we should really be getting a move on now. We'll fill you in on the details later.
Amelia looks surprised, but Kara notices the bag Leanna carries and urges Amy. Sounds good. We've been itching to get out of here anyway. Come on, Amy, let's go grab our things and head out. The sooner we're out of here, the closer we'll be to Elendale. Amy shrugs and follows Kara upstairs to grab their things. Once they return downstairs, all of us depart the inn and make our way out of the city gates of Wolfsden. Once we're on the road, Leanna and I fill the rest of the team in on what happened. After traveling as swiftly as we can for the rest of the evening, we decide to make camp. We choose a secluded area off the main road and set to work. Leanna and I split up to search for firewood while Zack and Kara prepare our rations. Amy unrolls her sleeping pack and lights the campfire. The Pongo cuddles beside her and watches the dancing flames. Once the food is ready, all of us gather around and begin to eat in silence. Kara playfully breaks the silence.
Foiling another void operation. Seems like just another day in the life now.
Actually, now that you mention it, we have seen a lot of void presence lately. Weren't they supposed to have been disbanded and outlawed? Why are they everywhere?
Unless every single person who believes in Void's ideals and goals are gone, it's impossible to fully get rid of Void. They've always been around, even after the Treaty of Assyria. They're just more secretive about it now. It's just, you won't find them unless you know where to look.
Amelia thinks.
If what you say about Void and its operations are true, then the most logical course of action would be alert the Mage Guild or Academy of their whereabouts.
They're probably already aware of Void activities and have missions to monitor or take care of things.
It's true that the Mage Guild is involved with a lot of suspicious reports of magical activities. I'm sure many of them have some connection to Void, which the Guild would keep secret so as not to entice widespread panic.
That makes sense. A resourceful organization like that would have some serious flaws in its intelligence if they're completely blindsided by all this. Amy nods. What has been said seems sensible. Zack points to the bag of spheres.
What are we gonna do with those? Someone will probably come looking for them.
Leanna moves towards the bag.
We'll turn them into the Mage Guild of the next city, and let them know what happened.
She tries to secure the bag when a little blue head pops up.
Poi!
The Pongo dives back into the sea of spheres, and we hear contented sighs of Poi.
Pongo, what are you doing in there?
She reaches straight into the bag and pulls him out, much to the Pongo's dismay.
Poi! Poi!
He struggles against her grip, but she grabs him firmly. If a Pongo absorbs a tainted sphere, will the Pongo become tainted too? Amy shakes her head.
No. The way a sphere becomes tainted is by becoming supersaturated with energy, thus becoming unstable. A Pongo's absorption of the energy is to turn said energy into fuel. He is unaffected by the type of energy absorbed.
Kara looks intrigued. She scoots closer to the Pongo and tickles him. He giggles.
Huh. I never knew that.
If that's the case, why aren't Pongos used against Void? Send them into Void establishments to absorb the tainted spheres.
Absorbing spheres doesn't happen overnight. And when a Pongo is full, he'll stop absorbing energy. Just like how we can't eat anymore after we finished a meal.
Perhaps in a span of a couple of months, a Pongo could remove all energy within a tainted sphere.
Exactly. The process is just too slow to be effective during a battle.
The Pongo manages to wiggle out of Leanna's grasp and plops down beside me. He stares longingly at the bag, but makes no move to return. We finish up eating and begin to clean up. Afterwards, I stifle a yawn. The stars shine pinpoints of light amidst the black sky, and their comforting glow makes me even sleepier. We've had a long day. As the rest of the group also gets ready for bed, I crawl into my bedroll and close my eyes. The night is still, and gradually I can hear the soft breathing of my friends. They each drift to sleep. A gentle shuffling noise has me blink open my eyes. I see this Pongo slip out of Leanna's bedroll and tiptoe on over towards the bag of spheres, glancing back every so often at her sleeping form to make sure she doesn't hear. When he gets close, he shuffles the last few inches to the bag and scrambles inside. The last thing I hear is a purring of poise as I drift to sleep. I wake up. That was a crazy day yesterday, but we somehow managed to pull through. I stand up and stretch while looking around. Everyone seems to be sleeping. Everyone but Leanna, of course. She's always up bright and early to practice. I think she's rubbing off on me because I'm waking up early these days too. I look down at my Pongo. What the? He's a bigger blob than I remember. He grins contentedly. Were you absorbing energy all night? You do you. I shrug, he can do whatever he wants. I stretch again. Ever since I got into the routine with Leanna, I look forward to our morning spars. Between the magic training and sword training, maybe I could eventually become a mage knight. It doesn't take me long to find Leanna back in her usual outfit. She sits cross-legged with her eyes closed as if in meditation. Her crystal glows in her manipulator, but otherwise she doesn't move. As I move closer, she breaks from her trance and gives me a warm smile.
Good morning!
Hey. Just practicing energy channeling? She nods.
I was just waiting for a certain someone to wake up so we could spar.
What if I don't want to spar? Don't just assume I want to spar. Maybe I'm too exhausted from yesterday. Leanna frowns then shrugs.
Oh, my mistake. I didn't think you were such a baby.
Shots fired. I'm not a baby.
Sure, whatever you say.
Oh, that's it. I ready my blade. Leanna grins in satisfaction as she does the same. Wait, did you just trick me? We'll start with the standard spar. The goal is to knock your opponent to the ground. Ready? My grip tightens around my blade. I nod. Let's go. We dash towards each other and our swords meet in a metallic clang. Leanna spins around and swings her sword towards my side. I bring my sword down here, another clash as metal hits metal. Then I push her blade back as I move to strike. Leanna easily parries it as she knocks my sword away, creating an opening. I manage to dodge her strike just in time. She ducks low to avoid my retaliating blow and thrusts her sword again. We continue to dance back and forth as the duel progresses. I can feel myself improving. I'm not having as much trouble defending against Leanna's attacks, and I'm able to get in a few jabs of my own, too. Beads of sweat cover Leanna's forehead in a light sheen. Doesn't look like she's using her wind magic to buff her. Leanna matches my intensity, something she does every match. Just as I feel confident I have the upper hand, she increases her skill level and I have to scramble to keep up again. Regardless of my improvement, I still haven't been able to beat her in a single match, and those statistics do hurt my pride a little. Maybe if I can distract her and catch her by surprise, I'll have a better chance of winning a match. I haven't played by Leanna's rules this whole time. Maybe it's time to take a play from Zach's book. Do whatever you need to win. It's okay, I don't mind being a loser. These are practice duels anyway, and the goal is to improve, not win. We continue to spar as usual, trading blow for blow, but ultimately, as she has done so many times before, she manages to knock me over. Leanna walks over to me and offers me a hand to help me up. As we cool down, she gives me some more pointers on how to improve, as well as offers some encouraging words on how much I've grown. After a brief break, Leanna has us duel a few more times to help with my endurance and training. She's barely broken a sweat, even after my limbs feel like lead and I can barely stand. No wonder Mage Knights are such a force to be reckoned with. Everyone else is up by the time we return to camp. I smell the delicious aroma of food and grab myself a bowl. Once everyone is served, we sit down together to eat. After a few moments of silence, Amelia seems to remember something and grabs a book from her pack. Here. She hands it to Kara. Kara blinks in surprise. I notice the same book Kara gave Amy back at the Earth Temple.
Hmm? You don't want this anymore.
Amelia shakes her head. I have read through the literature and it does not contain any information which could be of use.
Really? We found it in an old temple. Are you sure it's not something that the Mage Academy would want?
Amy shakes her head.
The text is a subjective moral lesson in the way of a fictional story about an adolescent. This yields no academical benefit.
Kara thinks, then shrugs.
Okay, if you're sure you don't want it, then I can sell it. It's still an ancient relic after all.
Do as you please with it.
Alright, thanks, Amy.
She nods and resumes eating. Once everyone has eaten their fill, we clean up camp and continue on our journey. We travel together for quite some time. Finally, the sun begins dipping low and streaking the sky with sizzling pinks and yellows. Rocks crunch under our boots as we continue down the path. The air is brisk and goosebumps shiver up my arms. A sharp breeze cuts through my clothes and I wonder how much further we need to walk. We manage to drag our way through, the chill deepening with each vanishing beam of sunlight. Kara leads the way a few steps ahead of us. Zach's expression is hard to read, but I notice him pull up his coat a little tighter around him. Leanna rubs her hands together before puffing a hot breath into the cradle of her palms. The pongo nuzzles against my neck and disappears into my scarf. He's even colder than usual, making me shiver again. I guess I'm not the only one noticing the chill.
Aw, poor little guy. It's pretty cold out, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
We should pick up the pace. When night falls, it's only going to get worse.
We agree. My teeth rattle from the cold and I tuck my freezing hands under my arms. The bitter breeze swirls through Leanna's hair and makes her shiver. She coils tighter into herself. Amelia's cloak balloons out behind her, and she lifts her hood over her head. Too cold to talk? Less chatter means we get there faster. We continue on. The wind ruffles my hair and passes right through me, numbing me with cold. Even Zach folds into himself and stuffs his hands deep into his pockets. Amelia yanks her hood tighter around her ears and face and tries to keep her cloak from billowing out too much. Leanna keeps her head down, the frigid air turning her cheeks pink. But Kara is walking ahead of us with a little skip in her step. Her arms dangle at her sides as if she's just taking an afternoon stroll. I nudge Zach. Is Kara not cold? Zach untucks himself from his coat long enough to take a look, then his voice drops too.
Doesn't seem like she is.
Leanna hears us talking and blinks in surprise at Kara.
How is she not cold?
What kind of magic is this? There's only one explanation. She obviously knows magic. Zach and Leanna just stare at me. Never mind.
Oh, I'm sorry. Were you guys talking about me?
My mouth drops. How does she always hear us? Leanna and Zach look alarmed too. Amelia just blinks at the commotion.
Aren't you freezing?
Kara looks at her blankly.
I don't think so.
Zach's stare intensifies. His face is frozen in a confused grimace.
Seriously? How's that even possible when you're barely wearing...
Kara tilts her head and raises an eyebrow. She smiles and the rest of Zach's sentence trails off. Leanna gapes at her.
Seriously, what's your secret?
secret?
There's gotta be a secret to it, right? Or some kind of heating device that's keeping you warm?
Amy steps over and checks her manipulator.
She does not seem to be using any magical assistance to keep warm.
Kara laughs.
Are you guys a little chilly or something?
Leanna's trembling becomes a little more noticeable as she huddles between me and Amelia. Kara glances at each of our trembling forms, and for a moment she seems confused.
Oh, wow. You guys do look cold.
Because it is!
She watches Leanna, Amy, and I step closer together for warmth, and her expression changes like a light bulb went off in her head. She turns to Zach and her mouth spreads into a slow smirk. The way she's looking at it reminds me of a fox eyeing a rabbit.
Actually, you're right. I'm freezing. Ooh.
She wraps her arms around herself and feigns a violent shudder before cozying up to Zach.
I'm terribly, terribly cold.
He shuffles away from her.
What are you doing?
Kara pouts.
Trying to stay warm, of course. Aren't you cold too?
Zach frowns.
I'm not cold.
Just as he says that, the wind picks up again. He shivers and crosses his arms. A sly grin spreads across Kara's face.
Oh, of course you're not.
She moves towards him, and Zach shuffles away again.
Not happening.
Kara frowns.
But I'm not dressed appropriately for this weather.
How is that my fault?
Kara looks up at him with big, shimmering puppy eyes.
Okay.
She looks defeated and sniffles.
I guess I'll try to manage somehow.
She hugs herself with another theatrical shiver and exaggerates a few more sniffles for added effect. Zach shifts side to side, clearly uncomfortable. He crosses his arms and lets out a deep, deep sigh.
Fine.
He goes to take off his coat, but Kara stops him.
Wait, I don't want you to be cold too.
Well, there's no other option.
That same devilish smirk slides across her face.
Sure there is.
She lifts up Zach's jacket and slips inside, pressing herself against him.
Hey!
What? We have to keep warm, right? This jacket is big enough for the both of us.
Zach looks like he's about to argue, but says nothing. Kara smiles and snuggles into him. Zach's cheeks tinge pink, and he looks away from her. Kara notices his blush and smirks again.
Don't think I'm enjoying this. I'm only doing this because it'll be troublesome if you get sick.
Of course you are. That's so sweet. Thank you.
My eyes drift over to Leanna. She bites her lip and slides her hands up and down her arms. I can barely feel my ears or my fingers. The night probably is only going to get colder. Continue on. I love being heartless. Oh, whatever, she'll be fine.
We are nearing Elendale. The journey should not be much longer.
Funny thing is, that's spoken like a true married couple, you know?
Oh, really? What a shame.
Zach gives her a look.
I mean, oh boy. Yeah, it's so cold. Good thing we're almost there.
Zach and Kara quicken their pace, and we follow them for the rest of the journey. We travel for a few days. Seems to get colder and colder the more we travel, but we somehow manage. On one afternoon, we finally arrive in Elendale. Although there's still a present chill in the air, the sun's bright rays warm us as it glints off the impressive buildings. The people here are well dressed and pay no attention to us. They must be used to seeing those from out of town. As we venture further into the town, I notice lots of people heading towards the center of the square and into a large structure. What do you guys think that building is over there? Amy glances at where I point and brightens up.
That is exactly where we need to be headed.
She speeds up, looking pleased. Seems like everyone else needs to be there too.
Is there an event going on? What exactly is in there?
But Amy is already out of earshot. We pick up the pace to keep up. When we enter, I'm blown away by the sheer magnitude of the place. The main doors open to a hallway which splits off into adjoining wings. One wing is labeled the library, which is a conservatory and a cultural center too. The conservatory does not allow visitors, but the cultural center seems to be hosting some sort of exhibition, and that is where the crowd of people are filtering into. Leanna breathes out in wonder as she takes in the hall. Kara cranes her neck to get a better look into the library while Zack watches the crowd. Amy turns towards us.
The library in Elendale is renowned for its collection of rare tomes. It is the largest library in Havengard. Since we are already aware of the Wind Temple in this vicinity, I hope that by cross-referencing the books in the library with the notes from Elderism, I will be able to narrow down the exact location.
Leanna nods.
Good idea. Do you need any help?
Amy shakes her head.
I am confident that I will discover the information we need sooner rather than later.
Kara grins.
You don't have to tell me twice. I've got some business of my own I'd like to take care of while we're here.
Zack narrows his eyes.
What kind of business?
Kara smiles sweetly.
I had no idea you took such an interest in me.
He crosses his arms.
I just want to make sure you aren't getting into trouble.
That doesn't sound like me.
Alright, why don't we all take some time to relax and explore Elendale, and meet back up here afterwards?
Everyone agrees and goes their separate ways. To my surprise, Kara follows Amy into the library. Zack and Leanna both move towards the exhibitions and seem surprised by each other's choice. I take a closer look at the exhibition and see two signs. I guess the reason there are so many people here is because there are two exhibitions going on at once. One is on the illusions of the mind, and the other is about the heroes of Asaria. Leanna and Zack both walk towards the exhibition on illusions. I'm good for now. I'm ready to call it a day. The sun is beginning to dip in the sky. I'd better go check on Amy and see if she's made any progress. After entering the library, I spot Amelia at a secluded table surrounded by a mountain of books. She doesn't hear me approach. Hey, Amy.
Hello.
She doesn't look up from her textbook. Did you make any progress? Finally, she looks up at me.
Yes, I did.
She gestures to the books around her.
All of these texts include the data on the 100 floating isles. I have spent the afternoon gathering and analyzing all of that information.
Wait, did you say floating isles? Amy blinks.
Yes,
As in, they're hovering in the air.
yes.
You don't seem surprised by this.
Of course not. The islands float due to the magical dispersion in the area. This is a natural phenomena which has been around since the time of the ancients.
Do people live on these islands? No, it is not logical nor conducive for habitation. Most of the islands are too small for colonization, and those which are large enough to hold a small population are not suited for civilization.
But because they have been mostly untouched, the Isles are still one of the most beautiful natural wonders of Asaria.
Okay, but if no one lives on the Isles, then why are you studying them?
It is highly likely that the Wind Temple was built upon one of those isles. Based on my hypothesis, the temple would be built on the site of the highest concentration of energy.
Oh? Amy nods and begins to explain her scribed notes. The rest of the group slowly trickles in. Zack and Leanna arrive first, and a short while later, Kara follows.
If my calculations are correct, the temple should be located in this region.
She opens one of the books to a map and points to a cluster of islands. That's great, but we still have a problem. The islands are floating. How are we supposed to get up there?
Wind magic would solve that predicament.
If only we had a wind mage. Everyone focuses on Leanna.
That's true. While I can use wind magic to jump from isle to isle, it's impossible for me to manipulate enough energy to be able to float everyone. I could float myself and perhaps assist one other person.
Obviously, that second person would be him.
Him being Zack, right? Zack gestures to me. Traitor! Makes sense. I'm the only person who can absorb the energy.
What about the rest of us?
Don't worry, Kara. I'll bring you back some souvenirs from the temple. Kara laughs.
I appreciate that, but we should still be close by. The least we can do is keep watch.
We can set up at the edge of the first isle and wait for their return.
Kara nods.
That sounds good to me.
There is still some distance for us to travel to reach the Isles. We can cross that distance as a group and split up from there.
Yes, but tomorrow. It's already growing dark, so we should rest tonight.
Let's go find an inn then.
Once in agreement, we help Amy clean up and then return to the streets. Now that the sun is set, the cold seeps through my clothes and chills my skin. A shiver crawls down my spine. Leanna blows on her hands.
The change in temperature is really apparent without the sun.
Amy glances at Leanna.
If you are cold, perhaps we should inquire whether the Flushed Mermaid has any rooms. Their rooms are more luxurious than the inns we may be used to, but there is a fireplace in each room. I do believe they provide heat stones we may request to sleep in our beds, should the blankets be insufficient.
I'll probably talk about the heat stones when I do this for real.
Plus, their hot springs are open for guest usage.
Kara perks up.
Did you just say hot springs?
Yes, that is
One of the stretch goals from the Kickstarter.
You had me at hot springs. Let's go there.
She begins to push Amy in a random direction.
This is the incorrect way. The inn is towards the west.
Oops. To the west.
Kara hurries Amy towards the west as the rest of us follow along. Our group checks into the Flushed Mermaid. First thing we do is make reservations for the hot springs. Fortunately, their availabilities for the men's and women's hot springs are at the same time. After we complete our reservations, we receive our keys to the rooms and go upstairs to get ready. Amy was right when she said the Flushed Mermaid had nice rooms. These are a lot more elegant and grand than any of the others we've stayed in. Zack and I enter the room, and my eyes are drawn to the pale wooden dressers, gilded with clamshells and pearls. 2 couches sit before a flickering ivory fireplace. The mantel is streaked with silver waves, with a mermaid carved at the center. Dang, why don't we always stay in rooms like this?
They're expensive.
Good point. We find robes and towels in the closet. Once Zack and I are ready, we go downstairs and make our way to the men's side of the hot springs. So, wasn't this one reused from Ace Academy? This background? I step down into the pool, shivering at the first touch of heat. Zack settles across from me, enveloped in a vapor cloud. I sink even lower for the water to cover my chest. The Pongo plops next to me with a small splash. After a moment, he drifts back up to the surface like a fishing bobber. The Pongo drifts in place, his mouth still covered underwater. A second later, he lets out a happy, bubbly noise. I smile and pat him on his head. This is nice, isn't it? The Pongo beams up at me. He leaps out of the pool and makes a game of jumping in and out of the water. So... Zack doesn't even open his eyes. His arms are spread along the edge of the pool. How's life?
Fine.
Silence. Catch any scary bad guys recently? No response. I frown, sinking a little lower into the water, and notice a huge scar that ripples across Zack's chest. Cool scar. Where'd you get it? Zack finally opens his eyes. He stares me down. Okay, maybe I struck a nerve. Never mind. Zack turns away. Man, this obviously isn't going anywhere. Might as well just enjoy the hot springs and stop trying to get him to talk. I close my eyes and try to brush off our awkward conversation. Everything is so quiet. Too quiet. I don't even hear the Pongo splashing around. I open my eyes and realize he's not there. Hey, where's the Pongo? Zack looks around. The Pongo is nowhere in sight. The Pongo is constantly running off. Aren't you curious about where he goes?
No?
If he's not hanging around with me, then he's usually with Amy. For science. Zack arches an eyebrow.
And?
I guess we'll stick around here. Yeah, true, never mind. Zack and I stay in the hot springs until our time is up. We gather our towels and go back to the inn. In the back of my mind, I wonder if the Pongo really did go to the girls' side. Can't help but feel like I'm missing out on something. After our time is up in the hot springs, we change back into our clothes and meet at the Flushed Mermaid's Inn to have a late-night snack. We gather around a mother-of-pearl table, flecked with bits of coral. The chairs here are more comfortable than the wooden ones I've gotten used to. The servers bringing us each a scoop of ice cream. Leanna grins and digs in.
Wow, this is delicious!
What kind do you have?
Chocolate.
Kara's expression turns wicked.
Looks good. Mind if I try?
Leanna smiles.
Not at all.
She goes to slide over her bowl, but instead Kara moves in on the spoon of ice cream that Leanna is holding and eats directly from it.
Kara!
Yep, you're right. It's delicious.
Kara giggles and winks. Zack stares at the scene. Kara seems to feel his stare because she turns to face him.
What's wrong? Want me to lick yours, too?
Zack chokes on his ice cream as his face becomes completely red.
Oh, wait, never mind. We both got the same flavor.
She grins deviously.
I'm glad we have the same tastes.
Zack mumbles something incoherent. After we're done with our snack, we all decide to turn in for the night. We make our way towards the staircase to our bedrooms. We hike up the stairs and separate into our rooms.
Boy!
I glance down. You want to stay with us, Pongo? Pongo perks up.
Boy, boy!
I open the door a little wider and he bounces into the room. The wind howls outside and I automatically step closer to the fireplace. Didn't Amy say something about slipping hot stones into our beds if we're cold? But Zack has already rolled away from me. By his heavy breathing, I can tell he is already asleep. I feel pretty relaxed too. I suppose that's the thing about hot springs. Helps you relax and get a good night's sleep. I crawl into my bed where the sheets are smooth and welcoming. The Pongo snuggles up next to me under the blankets. My eyelids feel heavy and in only a few minutes, I find myself drifting off into a deep sleep.